Hello students, today we will do chapter of ecosystem for class 12 and topic covered are definition of ecosystem, type of ecosystem, ecosystem structure and function and pond as an ecosystem. So let's start. So what is an ecosystem? Ecosystem is a functional unit of nature where living organisms interact among themselves and also with the surrounding environment. So interaction of living organisms among themselves and with the surrounding environment constitutes the ecosystem. So ecosystem is classified into two types: terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Terrestrial ecosystem includes forests, grasslands and deserts, and aquatic ecosystem includes ponds, lakes, wetlands and oceans. We should also remember that crop field and aquarium, they are man-made ecosystem. These ecosystems are made by man, so they are called man-made ecosystem. Now let us look at structure and function of ecosystem. So first of all, we should remember the component of ecosystem. There are two components of ecosystem: biotic components as well as abiotic components. Biotic components are the living components of the ecosystem, whereas abiotic components are the non-living components of the ecosystem. Now, the biotic component includes producers, consumers, and decomposers, whereas abiotic component include air, water, solar radiation, temperature, soil, etc. Let us look at the structural features of an ecosystem. So there are two important structural features of an ecosystem, that are species composition and stratification. So what is species composition? Species composition refers to all plants, all animals, all microbial species present in an ecosystem. So all plants, all animals and all microbial species in a given ecosystem constitute the species composition. Second important structural feature of an ecosystem is stratification. Stratification means vertical distribution of species occupying different levels in an ecosystem. So vertical distribution of species occupying different levels in an ecosystem means stratification. For example, tree in a forest ecosystem. Tree occupy the uppermost layer, shrubs occupy the second level, and the herbs occupy the bottom layer. So since they are vertical distributed in different levels, it is known as stratification. So vertical distribution of different species occupying different levels is called stratification. For example, in a forest, tree occupy the uppermost strata, shrubs the second, and herbs the bottom. Now, after discussing the structure of an ecosystem, we should know the major function of an ecosystem. The major function of an ecosystem are productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycling. We will understand these four functions of an ecosystem when we look at pond as an ecosystem. Now let us look at pond as an ecosystem. So why pond is considered as an ecosystem? Number one point, it is self-sustainable, means it can maintain itself without any external help. So pond is a fairly self-sustainable shallow water body. So it consists of all the abiotic and all the biotic component which an ecosystem should have. So the abiotic component of the pond are water, soil, solar input, cycles of temperature, day length, and climatic factors. Whereas biotic component means living components of the pond are producers, consumers, and decomposers. The producers include those plants which can make their own food, for example, algae, phytoplanktons, etc. Consumers, which depend upon the producers, which will consume the producers, which will eat the producers. For example, zooplankton, free swimming animals, and bottom dwelling animals. And decomposer, which will act on the dead plant matter. For example, bacteria and fungi. Now, the first thing why pond is considered an ecosystem, because it has all biotic and abiotic component which an ecosystem should have. Second point is pond perform all the functions of an ecosystem. For example, conversion of inorganic material into organic compounds with the help of energy from the sun. The process which is called as photosynthesis, in which inorganic material is converted into organic compounds with the help of energy. So first function of an ecosystem, productivity, should be clear to you. Means conversion of inorganic material to organic compound. Second, consumption of these autotrophs by heterotrophs. As you know, these plants would be eaten up by animals. So this would be the second function that a pond perform as an ecosystem, consumption of autotrophs by heterotrophs. Now this consumption is interlinked, means one plant can be eaten up by more than one animal, which constitute the food web and the food chain. This we will discuss later in the chapter. Second is decomposition, and fourth is nutrient cycling. So these are the four functions which the pond perform as an ecosystem, and it is considered as an ecosystem because it is self-sustainable unit and it has all abiotic and biotic components. So if you have gained something from this video, please subscribe to my channel Ramji Chopra.